Hello and welcome once again to Radio Days with Gary Music Miller. I'm Dave Black, the sidekick, and believe me, I get tired of getting kicked in the side. However, this is the Hall of Famer Gary Music Miller next to me. This is our Christmas edition. We've got a lot to talk about here, and I hope you enjoy it. I enjoyed putting this together on my side, and I'm sure Gary did as well, because there is 1,000 things we could have gone over. However, we've got a little list going on of some of our favorite Christmas songs, and maybe there's some of yours. You never know.
That's right.
So if they are, write us a note. Tell us. We'll get to that in just a second. First off, I want to thank the Museum of Radio and Technology here at 1640 Florence Avenue in Huntington. That's where we're coming to you from, in one of their studios, their replica studios, which is fantastic. We urge each and every one of you to come down, take a look at what they have. It's like the Smithsonian. If you looked at every item for 1 minute, you'd spend several years here. It is just a wonderful, wonderful compendium of radio and television memorabilia. It is just one of the most fantastic things you'll ever see. We ask that you visit their website. It's mrtwv.org. Visit their website, check them out. Come down here and take a look at things, and you won't leave disappointed, I'm sure. However, we also ask you on our page to like, share, and subscribe. I'll get it out here in a second. We want you to like, share, and subscribe if you would, please. Do whatever you want to do, but we ask you to do that. And I made a small error in not having the bell appear on the page, so if you see the bell, click that. That way you'll be notified when a new video is uploaded, some new content. That way you'll be able to log on and take a look at what we're doing. So with that said, I'm going to pass it over to Gary and let him tell you a few things, and then we'll get into the topic of the day.
Well, thank you, Dave. I want to thank those of you who have plodded through the first 3 episodes of Radio Days with Gary Music Miller. I got a lot of nice tweets and a lot of nice emails, and we are looking for your feedback. The first 3 was sort of a 3-part how Gary got into radio kind of thing, and my early days in radio. So we're going to deviate from that today, and we're going to go to a Christmas topic. Dave actually asked me to come up with my favorite 10 Christmas songs, and I couldn't do it because I ran over a list of 70s and 80s music, and then I looked at songs of all time, and I just really have trouble over 40 years playing these songs year after year after year after year. Some of them wore on me, some of them, at any rate, I did not come up with a top 10 list. What I'm going to do is offset his top 10 list. I've come up with 2 top 5 lists, one list of 5 songs that I consider impact records, and I call them impact records because they impacted me for some reason. They had some kind of effect on me. I remember the first time that I played them, and for good reasons or bad reasons. And then Dave's going to run over his top 10 of all time. We're going to see if we agree with that. And then I'm going to give you a list of I don't know whether you'd call them the worst 5 Christmas songs, but certainly 5 songs that are not my favorites. We'll put it that way. So, and some of which are the worst. A couple of which didn't even hit the radio. They were so bad. So, with that, I guess we'll start with my first top 5 list.
Go ahead.
Okay, the impact songs. Number 5, I'm going to mention Hall and Oates doing Jingle Bell Rock. In 1983, I was sitting in my office, and I was not only on the air, but I was also music director. And I was music director through my entire radio career. But I was the MD, so to speak, at WKEE from 1978 till I left in 2009. And my job as music director was to open up all the packages of records that came in, listen to them, decide which ones I thought were airworthy, which ones were not, separate them, then take the good stack into my program director. And whether it was based on the song or sometimes it was based on the artist, we would decide what to play together. And occasionally I'd make those decisions, myself. Occasionally he'd make those decisions. So at 83, I'm sitting in the office. This package comes in. It's album sized, and I thought it's a Christmas album from somebody. Reached in, opened it, pulled it out. It was this beautiful red, green, white picture disc with a Christmas scene on it. And I read about it, and it's Daryl Hall and John Oates doing Jingle Bell Rock. The one thing about it was, on one side of the disc was Daryl Hall singing Jingle Bell Rock, and on the other side was John Oates doing Jingle Bell Rock. So of course, immediately in my mind, it's like, I don't want to play Hall or Oates. So I ran the Daryl Hall version off on tape, played the tape back, ran the the John Oates version simultaneously at the same time, and we mixed them together. They were the same music track, thankfully. So I had Hall and Oates on the air for 1983. I don't think the song did very well. I don't think the song was released to the public. So I think it was just a promo-only thing to radio stations. I'm not sure why it was done that way. Usually they send records to sell records. I don't know. But that was my Hall and Oates getting them together doing Jingle Bell Rock.
I can promise you one thing. That disc being of color, red, green,
picture discs.
Those things are worth a mint.
I
you probably
can
should have kept that now.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, so if you have any of those, you get them checked out and see what they're worth, because discs of different color are, believe it or not, are worth a little. That I got a 45. You gave me a 45 one time from Key. It was a silly parody kind of song, or not a parody, but it was a comedy kind of song. Mm-hmm. This was in the early '80s, so to give you a time frame. It was called Jelly Bean Blues. Reaganomics was the subtitle, and the disc was blue, a real pretty blue color. Mm-hmm. And I wish that I had kept that thing, and I don't know what I did with it.
Yeah.
But now that we're off topic, continue.
Okay, great. Well, I'm going to test you here. I'm going to name some artists to you, and you tell me what they have in common. Other than the fact that they're superstars, they had #1 songs, they probably won Grammys. Can you come up with anything else that they have in common? Lionel Richie, Willie Nelson, Steve Perry, Diana Ross, Daryl Hall, Kenny Loggins, Kenny Rogers, and Michael Jackson.
They all have monkeys.
They all have monkeys. They should.
Oh, no.
They probably do.
I guess that's not it.
Actually, they were all among the 40 artists on released in 1985. The spring, summer of 1985. There were 40 artists that got together. I think Harry Belafonte created the concept or founded this particular concept. They got together, they recorded as USA for Africa. The song was We Are the World, and those artists were on that record. And it was an absolutely fascinating record to me, because all of these artists I was playing are all together on the same disc. I come to find out that not so popular over here, but 6 months earlier, in the October of 1984, a guy named Bob Geldof had put together a bunch of British artists. Boy George, Paul Young, George Michael, Bono, and they each, again, these guys all sang together, but they each had their own separate lines, and I'm sure most of you have heard both of these songs. And the song that was released in '84 was Do They Know It's Christmas by Band-Aid. Both of these projects were charity records, basically, for the famine people in Africa, as I understand it. So my #4 impact song is Band-Aid's Do They Know It's Christmas, just because when I first heard it, I was like, oh wow, it was the same with Band-Aid when the American artist did it, and it was the same with the British artist when I heard Do They Know It's Christmas. So that's my #4 impact record, because it had never been done before, and was immediately copied thereafter by USA for Africa. 1970, my #3 song, I'm amazed by it. It's Jose Feliciano's Feliz Navidad. It was released in '70. I remember it because it was one of the very first songs that I got to play as a DJ on my very first radio station, WWHY, in 1971. Up to that point, I was doing news rather, and I was playing beautiful music at night with no DJing. when the station went out of the talk show that it was on until the station signed off. So when I finally got to DJ, it was around December of '71 or so, and I played Jose Feliciano's Feliz Navidad, just amazed because of the mixture of Spanish and English. It makes it unique right there. I know I read an interview with Jose just a couple of years ago, and he couldn't believe 50 years later it's still in the top 10, most played Christmas songs of all time. So that's a song that impacts me because it reminds me of my early days, and it's different because it mixes, like I said, Spanish and English. Not too many songs do that. Impact song number 2 is an impact song for me because this girl died, I think, when she was 32 years old, way too early. And she had a tremendous impact on me when I was a senior in high school and going into my early radio years. She died way too young, heart complications due to anorexia, I believe. And when you think of supergroups of the 70s, you don't often think of the Carpenters. But I have a tremendous, just a place in my heart for the Carpenters, their music, and Karen Carpenter, and I'm so sorry that we lost her at such an early age. And her Christmas release from this is interesting. Merry Christmas Darling is my second impact song from the Carpenters. It was released in 1970, again in 1974, and then in 1975. Or I'm sorry, 74 and 77. It reached #1 on the Billboard singles chart in 1970, 71, and 73.
Wow.
So it was around for a while. So Merry Christmas Darling, because of the loss, basically, of Karen Carpenter, always impacted me when I heard it, and for that reason.
A lot of people may not, if I may interject,
Sure.
A lot of people may not think of the Carpenters as a, quote, super group until you start looking at how many #1s they had.
It's very incredible.
You look at how many #1s they had, how many chart hits they had, and then you can base your own opinion, but they definitely were super.
They were a super group, and she
And
was
she
a
could-
superstar, and
she
she
could-
did a song called
she could
Superstar.
Plain old sing. She had a great
She
voice.
sure could. She sure could. Now this next song, my #1 impact song, I remember the first time I heard it. I sort of remember the first time I played it. It was recorded live in 1975, and at that time, some radio stations got like a bootleg copy of the song. It was never really released, but in '75 it was recorded and it got out there. And it was so popular without being released that in 1982, it was released on a charity album called In Harmony 2. It was an album that all the proceeds went to charity, and at that time they released a promotional single to radio to play, but they never released it commercially, so you still couldn't own this song on disc until 1985. In 1985, Bruce Springsteen's My Hometown was released. It was a big song, but on the flip side was his version of Santa Claus is Coming to Town. Had been recorded 10 years earlier in 1975 live, and it had made the rounds by then, but in 1985 you could actually buy the song, and I love it because it's so free-form. He has a good time on it. You hear Santa Claus ho-ho-hoing through the whole thing. I don't know that he ever gets the entire Santa Claus is Coming to Town line out. It's funny because when I picked this song, I got on the web to research it. Second or third entry down, a guy had just written that it was the worst Christmas song of all time because Bruce sounds constipated, he sounds inebriated, but for those reasons, I really liked it.
That's literally every song.
Yeah, possibly so. So those are my 5. Santa Claus is Coming to Town. Bruce Springsteen from 3 different years, 75, 82, and 85.
Now, a lot of people don't know this, but the ho 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 in that song was Clarence Clemens.
Clarence Clemens?
He was getting pinched by a saxophone. Okay.
Okay. Well, those are my top 5 impact songs. I'll do my 5 worst songs after Dave gives us some good news and gives us some songs that he considers to be his favorite
These are
of all time.
These are mine. They don't always, don't reflect the views of Gary or anybody else. And if you have anything to interject here on any of these, have at it. So I'm gonna give you 5, and some of these I can flip flop around. They're just songs I like, and I just started writing them down. Now I've got a couple at the top when we get finished that are probably my 2 favorites, but let's go from here.
Okay.
Number 10, since I'm so juvenile in things I like that I think are funny. Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer by Elmo and Patsy. That is absolutely a classic, since it was released umpteen years ago.
Yeah.
It's just so, it's just so cornbally.
It really is.
So
I'll talk more about that later.
There's not much more you can say.
I'll talk more about that later.
Number 9 on my list is You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch by Thurl Ravenscroft. Thurl Ravenscroft, very deep, beautiful bass voice, was the voice of Tony the Tiger.
Ah.
And a lot of people don't know that, but it was great. That was him.
I can hear that now that you brought it up.
Yeah, but Thurl Ravenscroft, and what a, J.D. Sumner, who backed up Elvis, was the lowest bass singer recorded ever on the records. But this guy was probably pretty close. He was good. Okay. Number 8 was a song you mentioned a while ago, was Do They Know It's Christmas by Band-Aid. I've always liked it, and probably liked it more than We Are the World.
I can understand that.
I don't know why, but I just thought I just did. So, let's move up to number 7. Number 7 is Please Come Home for Christmas by the Eagles. That's always been one of my favorite Christmas songs, as far as rock and roll goes. And who knows who the Eagles are? Number 6, The Christmas Song by Nat King Cole. Now that's the one, chestnuts roasting on an open fire. I'm not gonna sing because I don't want any extra fan mail. However, Nat King Cole, smooth, beautiful voice, and one of the great artists from the 50s and 60s. So that's a fast 5 right there. So if you want to, you can take off on your
When we do that?
5 faves if you want.
Mix in 5 bad songs?
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good to me.
These aren't exactly bad. They're just the ones.
Well, these are great songs. They're all
Okay.
great, in their own way. Everything is beautiful that way. All right, bad Christmas songs. Some of these you've not heard. Bring them up on YouTube and listen to them. I brought this number 5 song up to your attention for the first time. He'd never heard it. It was released back in 1998. So it's 2008, 2018. It's over 20 years old. I first heard it when Dano, and some of you who are Key listeners remember Dano and Lisa on the morning show, and Dano pulled it out and played it almost every morning during Christmas time. It's by the Little Stinkers, and it's called I Farted on Santa's Lap. Now Christmas is going to stink for me. And so it's just a terrible song. But it'll make you laugh, but it's one of those one listen songs, second, third listen, it's like, no. And I was like going into Dan and Lisa saying, please don't play that. Oh, no, we got to play it. So some people are going to accuse me of not having a sense of humor. It's just, after hearing some of these songs so many times, I'm through with them. So, that's the way it goes. Number 4 was never played on the radio. I have to mention this because of its association with, it was the theme song to the worst Christmas movie ever released. A movie called Santa Claus Conquers the Martians. It's horrible movie. It's very difficult to sit through. Pia Zadora, if you've ever heard of her, is, I believe, in this film. But John Cole does Santa Claus, and he sounds very almost perverted, ha ha ha, little girl. It's a horrible movie.
That's not natural?
Now, I believe the Day Before Christmas is on Comet TV, so if you guys are watching this in the next 2 or 3 days, you might catch the film and just see what I'm talking about. The song is Hooray for Santa Claus. And it's like nails on a chalkboard. The kids that sing it sing Hooray for Santa Claus through the whole song. It was recorded by Milton DeLugg and the Little Eskimos. And if you remember the Gong Show from the 1960s, Chuck Barris's band was Milton DeLugg and the Band with a Thug. And Milton DeLugg was a respected orchestra leader, but he recorded this song with the Little Eskimos. And it was called Hooray for Santa Claus. Came out Hooray for Santa Claus. One of the curiosities for me is there's a cover version on YouTube done by the great, iconic trumpeter. Had his own hit song with Java. He did the theme song to the Green Hornet, Flight of the Bumblebee. Tremendous trumpeter, and why he would do a version of the song with some kids singing, I don't know. But
now here's something little known about Al Hurt you may
yes.
never. If you would watch old replays of the late 60s and early 70s Professional Bowlers Association videos, you'll see him in some of the audiences. He was a huge pro bowling fan.
Big bowling fan.
Yeah, and so he was. They would, he tried to blow his trumpet whenever, but the backswing is just terrible. Okay. So let's go.
Well, I put on my third worst song, again, the song that's the best and worst, Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer. It's fun to me one time hearing it again. I compared it a few days ago to Cats in the Cradle or the Pina Colada song. They tell stories, you hear them one time, and then the second time you've heard them okay, third time. And let's face it, it's about somebody's grandma getting killed at Christmas time. And it's sort of a morbid subject matter, even though it's so absurd, getting run over by a reindeer. But let me find out about those guys. I think I made some notes about them. I don't guess I did. I know that Elmo and Patsy Stropshire was their name, and they recorded the song somewhere out in the Midwest, pressed it themselves, sent it to radio stations out there, and it became a Midwestern kind of hit. And within 5 years, it was on everybody's most played list, and they were just absolutely amazed at that. Elmo and Patsy are now divorced. Elmo's married to a girl named Pam. So I don't know whether Pam has to go by Patsy or not, but anyway, the voice of Grandpa on Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer is by Elmo. Second song, you're probably going to vehemently disagree with. You might. I didn't like 12 Days of Christmas to begin with. I never could remember the lyrics. I could never, when I go to 7, like 7 what, 5 what, 4 what. And a version I used to play that I had to play every year, and I was like, oh God, was Bob and Doug McKenzie, 12 Days of Christmas. Bob and Doug McKenzie were on SCTV in Canada. Moved over to the CBC, I think, in its third year of broadcast, and Rick Moranis and Dave Thomas were the hosts of a fictional show called The Great White North on SCTV. And they did, you can only hear Bob and Doug go, a beer, 4 pounds of back bacon, what the... 2 turtlenecks, it's like, it's just a silly version that I don't know whether ever should have been brought down here from Canada. And the thing about it is, the album got a Grammy nomination, and that was the one song everybody knew from the album.
However, they did have a point. There was too many days of Christmas. He said, like he's on the record, this should only be the 2 days of Christmas. It's too hard for us.
That's right. It's too hard for everybody. Not my favorite record, to say the least. Yeah. Play it every year after year. One song that still gets me was released in the 1950s, from what I've read, there were 2 guys in Denmark that were, their job was basically to record animal sounds. And every time they record an animal sound, for some reason, they'd get a dog barking. And so one of the guys said, you know what, I'm going to make a song out of these dog barks that we have. So hence 1950s, the worst Christmas song to me, and you know these are interchangeable and it's purely subjective, but it's Jingle Bells by the Singing Dogs. It was actually genius because now if you have a soundboard or you have a keyboard or whatever, you can feed a dog barking into that and just hit a note, bark, bark, bark. But back then in the 50s, these guys had to carefully take dog barks and splice the tape together to make a song out of it. And they did that with the Barking Dogs, and actually released 2 singles as the Singing Dogs. And I don't know who gets the royalties from that now, or who these guys were, but anyway.
That process is kind of like stop motion video. It's very tedious.
And it's brilliant, but it doesn't wear to me to the test of time. I'll put in an honorable mention a song he brought up to me a few days ago, the Christmas song by the Chipmunks. And the only reason I bring that up, I didn't put that on my top 5 list, was because that song was basically aimed at children. And all of these songs were aimed at adults.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, so I don't know. But that's my list, and again, feel free and write and tell me I'm crazy, or tell me what your worst.
I still want to hula.
Still want to hula. Okay.
Okay.
5 more of the best songs of all time.
These top 5 are pretty doggone good. This one, a lot of people probably have heard and forgotten. Some people may have never heard of it at all. However, it's titled "I Believe in Father Christmas." It's done by Greg Lake, who was a founding member of the band King Crimson and also of Emerson, Lake and Palmer, who did Lucky Man, their big song that they did. As a matter of fact, Greg Lake wrote Lucky Man when he was 12 years old. Isn't that amazing?
It is indeed, and it's a song that, again, used to be in the playlists every year. It kind of dropped out later, but it's an excellent piece of music.
Fantastic song. I really enjoy it. And number 4, it's the one you had on your list. It's "Merry Christmas, Darling" by the Carpenters. It's a classic, and I don't think as long as there will be music played, this song is one that will always be played somewhere.
Right.
So it's a classic. Number 3. Excuse me, man.
Thank you very much.
I got to talk about "Blue Christmas." "Blue Christmas" by the King, Elvis. It's another classic. He didn't do too many songs that got played. However, a little flash in the pan named Elvis Presley. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
That's right.
I got to mention, while you mention Elvis, I want to mention 2 songs that I absolutely love that make my Christmas every year when I hear them. One's secular, one's religious. I always said if Elvis had a version of "O Come All Ye Faithful," you can find it on YouTube. And I always said if I could sing, and I were asked to sing in church, I would want to sing this version of "O Come All Ye Faithful." I just thought of it as a regular Christmas song forever. And then when I heard this version, it starts with him and the piano, and it's down low, and then it builds to crescendo, and the timpanis and the choir come in, and it's just an incredible piece of music. And there's a beautiful song written by one of the Memphis Mafia members, Red West, wrote a song called "If Every Day Could Be Like Christmas." And Elvis sings "Why Can't Every Day Be Like Christmas." It's a really powerful lyric. Again, a beautiful, beautiful song. So I would add those 2 to your Christmas, when you're scouring YouTube for Christmas music. Bring up "Blue Christmas" and bring up the other 2 that I just mentioned, and enjoy some Elvis. And he had a ton of Christmas songs.
Oh, that's absolutely. At least several albums.
3 albums, yeah.
Okay, now the next 2 songs, you could flip-flop these for me, and I would be just as happy. However, I'm going to go with this one here. It's entitled "Mary, Did You Know?" It's been performed by secular and religious sides both since it was written. And it was written by a guy named Mark Lowry. Those of you that have ever seen any of the Bill Gaither videos, and if you haven't, I can't understand why not, because they're all over the TV. He wrote the words, and a guy named Buddy Green wrote the music to one of the most powerful songs that's been written in the last 20 years, in my opinion.
It is. It really is.
And if you ever get a chance on YouTube that and listen to, if you just search for Mark singing it, it's altogether different than anybody else doing it. And it is a good song. It's a powerful song, and it's one of those message songs.
Absolutely.
And it can be. I think it can be sang whether it's Christmas time or not.
Right.
So it's a fantastic piece. Okay, the last song on the list here, and like I said, I could have flip-flopped either one of them, is "Oh Holy Night" by Andrea Bocelli. Well, now it's not rock and roll. A lot of you people don't know who Andrea Bocelli is. Maybe some of you do. One of the finest operatic voices in the world. Period. I'd never heard of this guy until about 20 years ago maybe. My late wife turned me on to him, and he was. I didn't think I'd like him because I wasn't big into opera. I thought Pavarotti was the only opera person in the world. And then I heard this guy, and he was doing duets with Celine Dion and whoever else. He'd sing with anybody. It doesn't matter to him. However, this song, if you listen to this with his range, he just blows this song completely out of the water. He just absolutely tears it up. And
after you mentioned it to me, I went home and listened to it. It's amazing.
This guy's fantastic. So if
I can piggyback onto you real quick, let me piggyback onto you. No, there's a version of "Oh Holy Night" that I think is worth mentioning. I saw this guy live at the Paramount Arts Center do a Christmas show. He's a country guy, was big in the 1990s, and had a song called "I Think Your Love Amazes Me" that went to #1. He's got a phenomenal voice too, and he does "Oh Holy Night" as well. His name is John Barry. And so when you're listening to classic music, the version of "Oh Holy Night," a little less classical, the John Barry, you might enjoy it as much as I enjoy it too. But phenomenal.
These guys, you've got, anybody can sing a song, but a lot of people can't make it their own.
And that's a spine tingler.
Oh yeah, and when somebody can sing a song like that, and they can bring out an emotion in you, they've done it well. They've done it absolutely right.
Yeah.
And some of these songs, we've gone through are absolutely ridiculous, and then some of them are some can be tear jerkers at times. So, can evoke memories and places you were, and things you did. But that's it for my list. And if you have anything else,
well, hopefully you've enjoyed this. It's different from the first 3 episodes, and hopefully this is the kind of thing you want. Again, we want you to write to us. You can now comment on our YouTube page when you hear, when you listen to or watch one of these videos. Please feel free to comment. Also, write us. I've gotten a couple of nice emails at it's rdwgmm, Radio Days with Gary Music Miller, abbreviated, rdwgmm @gmail.com. You can send me an email. I'll write you back. I'm on Twitter at Gary Music Miller. You can send me a direct message or just a general message. I think there are a couple of Facebook sites. My wife's Kimberly Farnsworth Miller. Some people reach out to me through that. We want to hear from you. We want to know what you want us to do with this soapbox we're on, or whatever, this forum that we have. What do you want us to do? We'll do it. But tell us what you'd like. You might want us to talk old records, old concerts, old groups. The sky's the limit. Whatever you want us to talk about. I believe that's it for us too. We've spent enough time together. I thank you again for listening to us, subscribing if you did so during the first 3 episodes, and hopefully we're getting into a vein of topic conversation that you enjoy. So please join us. Have a great Christmas and New Year. And if you're listening to us sometime in 2022, then I hope you had a great Christmas and New Year. Thank you, and we'll see you again very shortly with another edition of Radio Days with Gary Music Miller.
Until then, take care. Have a wonderful holiday season. We'll see you then. Bye.